I was in a hotel with my neighbor's husband, lost in the moment. The next thing I knew, my body felt numb and everything went black. When I woke up in a hospital, my husband was standing there holding the divorce papers and smirking. I never thought my life would fall apart in a roadside hotel room. We lived in Greenville, South Carolina, on a quiet cul-de-sac where the loudest noise came from lawnmowers on Sunday mornings. My husband, Derek, and I had been together for 13 years. We weren't in love anymore, hell. I don't even think we liked each other, but we were still married. We split bills, shared a bed, smiled for the occasional photo. That was about it. Across the street lived Nate and Carla. She was always too much, too loud, too fake, too proud of everything. If Nate took out the trash, she'd post about what an amazing man he was. If he bought her a single rose, she'd tell the whole block. You couldn't have a 5-minute conversation without her bringing up how perfect her marriage was. It was so over the top, it felt like a lie. Nate was the opposite. Calm, observant, kind of sad-looking, if I'm honest. I saw it in his eyes when Carla was rambling on. He wasn't listening. He was tolerating. We ended up on a neighborhood board together, planning some dumb summer block party. That's how it started. Small talk, emails, late texts about decorations. Then longer texts. Then texts not about the party at all. He started opening up. Told me how Carla controlled everything, even his bank account. Said he hadn't been happy in years. I should have stopped it there. I didn't. I told him about Derek. How distant he was. How we hadn't touched each other in months. How sometimes I felt like I was living with a ghost. One night, Nate asked if I wanted to grab a drink. Just a drink. I said yes, even though I knew it wasn't just a drink. We met at a bar outside city limits. Somewhere no one would recognize us. We laughed. Talked for hours. We touched hands. He kissed me in the parking lot. It felt good to be seen. To be wanted. One thing led to another, and we ended up at a cheap hotel off I-385. Room 212. I'll never forget it. The second the door closed, I felt like I was 16 again. Nervous. Excited. Alive. We didn't even make it to the bed. We were wrapped up in each other, lost in the heat of the moment when something happened. I can't describe it exactly. One second I was in control, the next I wasn't. My legs gave out. My arms felt like rubber. My mouth stopped working. I tried to push him off, but I couldn't lift my hands. I couldn't speak. My vision blurred. I collapsed to the carpet, half naked, unable to move. Panic flooded me, but I couldn't scream. Couldn't blink. Everything went black. I don't remember the ambulance. Or the ER. Or how I got to the hospital. I woke up with a tube in my throat, IVs in both arms. My mouth tasted like metal. My head was pounding. Then I saw him, Derek. He was sitting beside me in the hospital room, calm as ever, wearing the same button-up he always wore to work. In his hands, a manila folder. When he saw my eyes open, he stood up and smiled. Not the smile of a relieved husband. No. It was smug. It was sick. You're up, he said. Good. Time to sign. He dropped the folder onto my lap. Divorce papers. I was too weak to speak, but I stared at him, hoping he'd say something else. Explain what was happening. Tell me why he looked so damn pleased. He didn't. He leaned in, close enough that I could feel his breath on my cheek. You really thought you'd get away with it? Then he walked out. No hug. No questions. No tears. Just the papers. And that grin. That's when I knew something wasn't right. He knew about the hotel. He knew I'd be there. And somehow he knew I'd collapse. This wasn't karma. This was a setup. And I was going to prove it. The first full day I was conscious, a nurse told me they'd found me unconscious in a hotel room. No signs of trauma, no alcohol in my system, but my vitals had crashed hard. They said it looked like poisoning. Some kind of sedative maybe, mixed into something I drank. But nothing turned up in my blood by the time they tested it. Too much time had passed. I asked if anyone had brought me in. She said no. Someone had called 911 anonymously, said there was a woman seizing in room 212. That's it. They never found out who. That's when I started piecing it together. I remembered sipping a little whiskey from the minibar before Nate, and I got close. It was bitter, stronger than it should have been, but I didn't think much of it. And Nate? He barely touched his drink. The way Derek had those papers ready. The way he showed up the second I opened my eyes, it didn't feel like coincidence. It felt planned. But how? I called Nate after I got my phone back. Straight to voicemail. I tried again and again. Nothing. When I got home, yes, they discharged me 2 days later. I found our house half empty. Derek had already moved out. Took his clothes, his computer, even the silverware. Left me with the papers and a nasty little post-it note on the fridge. It said, "Hope you enjoyed your last taste of freedom." I didn't sign. Not yet. Instead, I started digging. I found out Derek had taken 3 days off work the week of the hotel. He told his boss he had a family emergency. I checked his bank statements. Nothing suspicious there, he'd always been careful. He knew I could see those. But I also remembered our neighbor across the street, Carla. Carla, who was so perfectly married. Carla, who hadn't looked me in the eyes since I came home. So I went to her house. She opened the door, fake smile plastered on. "Oh, hey, how are you feeling? Where's Nate?" I asked. She blinked. "What?" "You know what I said. Where's your husband?" She paused, then looked over her shoulder like someone might be watching. "Nate left town," she said. "He got a job offer out in Raleigh." That was a lie. A bold one. I stared at her. He didn't even say goodbye. She shrugged. Things were rough between us. He wanted space. Her hands were shaking. I saw it. So I said it straight. I know something happened in that hotel. I know Derek was involved. And I know Nate didn't just walk out. She opened her mouth like she was going to argue. Then she froze. For just a second, she looked scared. Then she slammed the door in my face. That was when I knew I wasn't paranoid. I was poisoned. Set up. And my husband wasn't working alone. They planned this. And if they thought I was going to crawl away quietly, they didn't know me at all. I was going to find out how deep it went. And I was going to burn every last one of them down. I didn't sleep for 3 days after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Derek's smug face in that hospital room. I saw the look in Carla's eyes right before she slammed the door. I felt that terrifying moment again, my body going numb, losing control, falling into darkness. I wasn't just betrayed. I was hunted. I needed help, but not just anyone. Not the police, not yet. If I went in there saying I think my husband poisoned me for revenge because I cheated with our neighbor's husband, I'd be laughed out of the building. Or worse, they'd turn the whole thing on me. So I called someone I hadn't talked to in years. My cousin, Wyatt. Wyatt wasn't the kind of guy you called unless you had a real problem. He worked odd jobs, had a record for assault back in his 20s, and spent a few years doing security for bars where people went to disappear for a while. But he was loyal, and he didn't flinch when I told him what happened. "You think Derek drugged you?" he asked, voice low. "I think he planned the whole thing. I think Nate was in on it. Maybe Carla too." He didn't laugh. He didn't doubt me. He just nodded and said, "All right, let's find out." We started simple. Wyatt knew a guy who could pull hotel records, calls to the front desk, cleaning logs, camera footage. Took him 3 days, but he got something big. Derek had been at the hotel. Not just that night, 2 days before I was there. Checked in under a fake name. Paid in cash. Security footage showed him walking into the same floor where I ended up. Room 211. Right next to 212. He was scouting. Maybe even planting something. Then it got worse. Wyatt found footage of Nate arriving at the hotel the night I collapsed. Alone. No one ever saw him leave. But no one ever saw him with me either. That's when I remembered something. When I was in that room, it was dark. I never turned on the lights. It all happened so fast. The hands on me, the whispering. I thought it was Nate. What if it wasn't? What if someone else walked into that room? Someone who knew I'd be vulnerable? I shivered. Then Wyatt brought me something else, a bombshell. He found a burner phone registered under Derek's name. It had dozens of messages between Derek and Carla. They'd been talking for months. Flirty at first. Then it turned colder. Sharper. Plans. Details. Lists. One message chilled me to the bone. She'll be at the hotel at 9. Room 212. I'll make sure she drinks it. Carla responded. Make it look natural. I don't want him implicated. I want her gone. Gone. Not exposed. Not punished. Gone. That's when I knew this wasn't about my cheating. This wasn't just a revenge stunt. They wanted me dead. And they nearly pulled it off. But they left me alive. And that was their first mistake. Because now I knew. Now I had proof. And I was going to make every single one of them pay. I spent the next week gathering everything. Wyatt helped me copy every text, timestamp every call log, back up every video file. We stored them on a cloud drive and 2 physical USBs, one of which I kept duct-taped under a loose floorboard in the laundry room. I wasn't going to let anything disappear. Not this time. Derek had filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery. South Carolina is one of those fault states, so if a spouse can prove the other cheated, they can get more in the settlement, sometimes everything. Property, alimony, even full rights to retirement benefits. He didn't just want out of the marriage. He wanted to ruin me. I called my lawyer and told her to delay everything. Then I started building my own case. But the part one couldn't shake. The part that haunted me was Nate. Where the hell was he? He wasn't just gone. He was erased. No social media posts. No calls. No texts. His job said he quit. His car was gone. His bank account emptied 3 days after I collapsed. I knew Carla had something to do with it. I just didn't know if she'd killed him or helped him disappear. Then, Wyatt caught a break. He found Nate's car. Not in Raleigh. Not in Florida. Not even out of state. It was in a self-storage unit 30 minutes outside Greenville, under Carla's maiden name. Wyatt had a buddy who worked security there. Slipped him $100 for access. The car was dusty, but locked. Inside the glove box, Nate's wallet, ID, and get this, a sealed prescription bottle with no label. We sent it off for testing. Bingo. It was loaded with high-grade muscle relaxants, ones known to cause full-body paralysis in rare cases. Same type the hospital thought might have hit my system, but couldn't trace. That was it. That was what they gave me. So now I had everything I needed to take to the cops. But I didn't. Not yet. Because just handing it over? That'd be clean. Clinical. A court date and some press maybe. Maybe even a slap on the wrist if Carla played the right victim card. No, that wasn't enough. They wanted me dead. They tried to end me. And I was going to make sure they wished they had. I crafted a message. Sent it from a burner account to Derek, knowing he'd read it with that same smug little smile he wore in the hospital. Meet me at the hotel. Room 212. One night only. You want a clean ending? You'll get it. He answered in 10 minutes. I knew you'd break eventually. Perfect. I had Wyatt book the room under his name. Same place, same number, room 212. I filled it with cameras. Mic'd the table, the lamp, even the goddamn Bible in the drawer. I even placed one of the prescription bottles we found right in the minibar, same as before. When Derek walked in, the lights were low. Just like last time. He shut the door behind him. Thought you'd come to your senses, he said. I stepped out of the bathroom. Calm. Cold. I did, I said. I came for answers. He walked closer, not a care in the world. Don't worry, I brought the real papers this time. I'll even let you keep the house. You'll need somewhere to drink yourself to death. I smiled. You're not leaving with anything. He stopped. What? Not after what you did. You and Carla. He laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, you still think this is about love? You think I cared about Nate? No, I said. I think you cared about the insurance policy you took out on me last year. The one you figured no one would ever question. That shut him up. He froze. His face dropped. What did you just say? I pointed to the wall behind him. Say hi to the camera, Derek. He turned. Saw the red, blinking light. He rushed me. But Wyatt came out from behind the bathroom door and knocked him flat on his ass with a taser. Derek twitched. Gasped. Then went still. I leaned down next to him. You and Carla wanted me out of the picture. You almost got it. But you should have finished the job. He groaned, weak. I put the USB in his coat pocket. Don't worry. I'm giving this to the cops too. But I want her to know it's over. I want her to feel it first. That was the night everything turned. But it wasn't over yet. Because Carla was still out there. And I was saving the worst for her. Derek didn't get out of that hotel room on his own. Wyatt and I handed over the evidence to the police 2 hours later. Video, audio, drug tests, and a full timeline of events. The officer who took the report couldn't hide the look on his face when we showed him the messages between Derek and Carla. That kind of planning? That kind of coldness? It wasn't just attempted murder. It was conspiracy. They arrested Derek that same night. He screamed as they cuffed him. Called me a liar. Said I set him up. But no one listened. They had enough to hold him. Now it was Carla's turn. I didn't go to her house. I didn't send a message. I let the cops knock on her door at 6 a.m. the next morning. The whole street watched her in her bathrobe, crying, trying to cover her face as they pushed her into the back of the squad car. But that wasn't enough for me. I went to her job 2 days later. She worked as a mortgage broker at a local firm. I walked into the office with a stack of printed messages and security footage and calmly handed them to her manager. You might want to look into who's been helping falsify documents and commit insurance fraud, I said. Carla was fired within the hour. Then I filed a civil suit. Emotional distress, attempted murder, defamation, fraud. I sued them both for everything. The house went up for sale. Derek's retirement account was frozen. Carla's credit tanked so fast she couldn't even get a rental. I made sure every court date dragged. Every delay worked in my favor. And Nate? He was found. Alive. Turns out Carla hadn't killed him. She paid him to vanish. But he'd gotten cold feet and checked into a cheap apartment under a different name. Wyatt tracked him down in Winston-Salem. He was broke, scared, and looking over his shoulder every day. I met with him once. He cried. Told me he never wanted to hurt me. That Carla threatened to turn him in for an old drug charge if he didn't help. I didn't think she'd actually poison you, he said. You let her, I told him. That's enough. I didn't press charges on him. I didn't have to. He was already ruined. Just like Carla. Just like Derek. But here's the part one don't tell most people. I wasn't innocent either. I cheated. I broke trust. I took that first step into the hotel room. I let myself believe that feeling wanted was worth destroying a marriage. And for that, I paid too. People in the neighborhood didn't look at me the same. My job let me go after the news hit the press. I had to sell the house and move 2 counties over just to stop the whispers. But I'm still here. They tried to bury me. Instead, I buried them. They wanted to erase me. But now their names are burned into court records, police reports, and every background check they'll ever fill out. They tried to leave me with nothing. Now I sleep soundly, knowing I took everything. Even if I had to lose myself to do it.